Well, Nancy Pelosi, the latest major Democrat to rally behind the mobs tearing down Confederate statues. But based on a brand new poll, the monument debate actually could be shaping up to be a monumental disaster for Democrats. Here for a fair and balanced debate, Ron Meyer, editor at Red Alert Politics, and Jamila Bey, journalist and radio talk show host. Thank you both for joining us. And Jamila, I'll start with you on this. You agree with Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I don't mean to say that Nancy is rallying behind mobs of violent people. Nancy Pelosi is actually doing what's in the best interest of public safety. We know that there are groups that want to meet at these Confederate statues. We know that there are groups that oppose those groups who want to meet at statues of people who owned other human beings, who raped other human beings, who profited well off of the oppression and abuse of other human beings. So what's going to happen when these groups clash? You're going to have your public safety officials, you're going to have your police having to deal with this. Now, in a city like Boston, where you've got a strong and wonderful police force that can handle huge crowds, and, you know, they were able to mitigate all but 3 arrests this weekend. Smaller towns, not so much. Smaller places, lesser police forces, not so much. The smart thing to do is to avoid these conflicts. You know they're going to come.
But when you take a look at people who were polled across the nation, this specific poll, which was from PBS NewsHour and NPR, and it says the majority of Americans, 62%, say that you should in fact keep the statues, with only 27% saying that you should remove them. So, Ron, do you think that Nancy Pelosi is just doing this for a political advantage, or do you think that, in fact, she should be listening to the majority of people who say that you should not remove these statues?
Those statues are right where Nancy Pelosi left them when she was Speaker of the House. The truth is that she was the Speaker of the House, Democrats controlled Congress, and President Obama was president. If they wanted to get those statues out of there, they could have. And the truth is that the Democrats have a really pretty poor history on civil rights, including Nancy Pelosi's own father, who was the mayor of Baltimore and was one of the people who dedicated statues to Robert E. Lee and to Stonewall Jackson, and in his speech said that they defended sacred institutions. What are those sacred institutions? One of those is slavery. And the truth is the Democrat Party has a history of opposing civil rights, favoring Jim Crow laws, and also defended slavery back when the Civil War happened. And so the truth is the Democrats are Johnny-come-latelys to this movement. And Nancy Pelosi, I think, worst of all, is the fact that she's showing hypocrisy here. And instead of trying to bring unity and compromise, what she's trying to do is basically win political points when she actually has a pretty checkered past on this.
And Jamila, how do you do it to begin with? Because there are, I think approximately 1,500 symbols of the Confederacy in public spaces throughout the country, from states from Arizona to states down south to New York State. So where do you begin and where do you end?
You begin where you know that these rallies are going to be happening. They're not coming out of nowhere. There are places where you know these clashes are going to happen. And I want to address the issue of, you know, Democrats being the party of separatism and Jim Crow and white supremacy. Well, yes, they were. Absolutely. I mean, history shows that. There's no alternative fact there.
We have about 15 seconds left.
You know, the truth of the matter is that today we know there are Americans who are going to clash. We know that there are police forces that are going to be impacted. The public health, public safety, right thing to do is to take these things down where you know the meetings are going to happen.
Yeah, or that could be seen as caving to those who break the law versus
to use national security as the reason, I think is pretty intellectually weak.
But we have to wrap it up. I know they're going to talk about this a little bit more on Fox and Friends. Charles Barkley, they're going to talk a little bit more about what he had to say, and he said, you know, is taking down a statue going to get someone a job? So that's a good point.